Hi Year 3 and welcome to our English lesson. So today, Friday, we are going to write our own play script using a piece of text that I'm going to give you called I Spy. I want you to think of everything we've covered so far this week. So all the way back to Monday, think of the features that are entailed in a play script. Think of everything we did comparing the twits. Think of the comprehension, the layout, everything that we've covered so far. I have put on, and I'm going to go through it actually on this session, a PowerPoint that actually talks us through step by step. When you have a piece of text, what do we need to look for? What steps could we take? And if we actually follow this process, it makes it much simpler. But I thought I'd explain it first, then we'll go through the PowerPoint, then I will read to you the text that I've got, which is called I Spy. Okay, so first, let me share my screen with you and I'll just go through the PowerPoint. Welcome to our show, the importance of being eager. So here we go, Act 1, Scene 1. You can imagine a classroom full of noisy children throwing paper around. I can't imagine that ever, goodness me. And in enters the teacher, Mrs. Crowson, and Freya shouts, "Mrs. Crowson, how can I write a play script all by myself?" And I would say, "It's simple really, Freya. I'll take you through step by step and I'm sure you'll all understand." So, suddenly, there's a knock at the door and in walks little Billy. Well, I've never had little Billy in my class. "Sorry, I'm late, Mrs. Crowson. I was finishing writing my story." "That's okay, Billy. Maybe we could use it to write a play script. May I share it with the rest of the class?" "Yes, of course." So, Billy has written this story, and we are going to use his story as a basis to create a play script, and we're going to use that step by step. Okay, so here is Billy's story. It's called A Grave Situation. Little Billy, age 8.5. Jenny fell to the earth with a bump. "What on earth just happened?" she mumbled as she struggled to her feet and brushed the earth off her jeans. "Jenny, what are you doing down there?" called David. "I don't know," she replied. "I just sort of passed out, I suppose, and fell into this hole." "You do realise it's a grave you've fallen into, don't you?" queried David. "Ah!" screamed Jenny. "Quick, David, get me out of here." So that's his little story. And now we're going to use that and turn it into a play script. So the first thing we need to do, highlighter, best friend in English, and that's what you will need to do. And if you've got a highlighter or not, if you've got a felt tip or a coloured pencil, that's going to be the best thing when you have your piece of text, is highlight the spoken parts. So anything that someone is saying, I want you to highlight them first. Okay, so highlight the spoken parts. So here we go. We've highlighted what people are saying. "What on earth just happened? Jenny, what are you doing down there?" "I don't know. I just sort of passed out. I suppose I fell into this hole." "You do realise it's a grave you've fallen into, don't you?" "Ah, quick, David, get me out of here." They're the words that are being spoken. Now we can extract those spoken words and start putting them into some form of script. Okay, so here we go. We write them down without any speech marks. It's a play script, remember, we don't need speech marks, but we do use character names with those 2 dots called a colon. It's the first act, it's the first scene, so we say Act 1, Scene 1. And at the moment we've got our characters and what they're saying. Now we need to find out if there's any stage directions or anything that we can add to our dialogue, what people are saying. So how are people saying things and what's going on around them? So here we go. How did she say things and what's going on? So we've highlighted again. So again, in your piece of text when you're doing it, we'll use our highlighter. So she mumbled, she struggled to her feet, brushed the earth off her jeans, she called, and later on she screamed. So we've added that in using brackets. So every time we use stage directions, remember we use brackets. So Jenny, mumbling as she struggles to her feet, brushing the earth off her jeans, shouting down the hole, and screams. Now, we haven't actually set the scene. We haven't told people where this is happening yet. So we're looking through, we're being detectives now, trying to, with our highlighter again, trying to identify where is she, what's going on, what's happening. So she fell to the floor and she's in a grave. So at the beginning of our scene, we're just telling the audience or telling the actors or telling the stage managers what is going on. So a girl has just fallen down an empty grave. Her friend is looking down. So you're kind of setting the scene, and that you put at the top underneath your Act 1, Scene 1, just setting the scene. Okay, so I've got one that we're going to have a think about together. I wrote this one, Toad in the Hole by Mrs. Crowson, age 30 and 12/12. Dinner's ready, called Mum from the kitchen. I'm not hungry, answered Helen. Helen, Julie, Allen, get yourself down here now. If I have to come into that bathroom, there will be trouble, shouted Mum. Helen sighed as she watched the last of the bubbles disappear from the bath. Okay, Mum, just let me get my clothes on first. So quickly, we're not going to spend much time on this because this isn't the whole activity, but I just want us to get our brains warmed up. If you've got a whiteboard or a scrap piece of paper, you can do it with me. Otherwise, just do it in your head as we go. We need to do the stages as we did the first ones for Billy's story. So the first thing, we need to highlight who's saying what. So we're looking for the speech and taking it out. Okay, so have a quick look. Okay, so it should look something like this. When you're going to do it for yourself, that's the first thing you do. Look for any words that people are saying, highlight them, then write it down on into your English book or onto your piece of paper. Act 1, Scene 1, characters' names down the side in the correct order, what they're saying. So a character's name, colon, and what they're saying, no speech marks. Okay, next part. We're looking for stage directions, how they're saying things. Are they moaning? Are they whining? Are they shouting? Are they excited? Are they screaming? Are they jumping up and down? Any stage directions you can add in, and we use brackets for that. Again, use your highlighter into the text and add those on. The final thing is the setting. We want to add in where is it taking place, setting the scene for our audience members. Not that they read that, but we need to make sure that we give our stage managers an understanding of where it's happening. This scene was setting in the bathroom. The girl was in the bathroom letting the water out of the bath. She's not on the moon. Okay, so the setting, the scene that you're going to be doing for I Spy, I did let you into a little secret. I'm not sure I have yet. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. It's a family in a car. They're on a car journey. Okay, so that's going to be your scene. So I hope that's helped. I'm going to read through your piece of text now, but this is what you're going to be doing. Okay, so you will need to read through I Spy. You're going to identify and highlight what the direct speech is, who's saying what. Jot down who's been saying it, the spoken parts. Identify any stage directions and set the scene. My top tip from Mrs. C, and I always try and have these top tips. Remember, as a playwright, the same as if you were an author, you might need to make changes as you go. You needed to add in things, didn't you, on Billy's story and on my story? We had to add in stage directions. We had to add in the scene. So don't squish it all in. Be mindful that we have to add things in. Leave yourself some space, and you might suddenly find something extra you want to add in. So you can make changes as you go, that's fine. Keep it as neat as you can, and take your time. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so I can read I Spy to you, but hopefully that was useful. This is the story, this I Spy. Hopefully when you have finished it and done it, you will end up with something similar to what I've got here with David, Megan and Mum and Dad. And so there are 4 characters in it. Maybe you'll start with a cast list at the top of your page. You've got a scene and a setting of where it's happening, what's going on. You've got some stage directions of people saying what they're saying and how they're saying it. And it just sets out the story, really. Okay, so I'll read it through for you now. If you've got it and you want to print it out and follow it with me, please do. Otherwise, just listen really carefully and follow it on the screen if you want to. I Spy. One day, Mr. and Mrs. Woods, their son David and their daughter Megan were travelling to Brighton for their summer holiday. The family was in the car on the way to the seaside, and everybody was feeling a bit tired. The children had nothing to do and were bored. "Dad, are we there yet?" whined David. His sister Megan looked at him and gave him a shove. "I'm getting fed up with you," she said meanly. The children saw Dad's eyes looking at them in his mirror. "Look," he said firmly. "It's bad enough driving for 2 hours without having to listen to you two arguing." "Be quiet, you two," added Mum. "Find something to do with yourselves." Megan, who was about 8 years old with brown hair and blue eyes, looked around her and shrugged her shoulders. "Oh, but Mum, I've read all my comics and done all my puzzles," she complained. David, who was younger than Megan, had blonde hair and freckles on his nose, said, "I've read my comic too, and I've listened to my story tapes." David's voice was beginning to sound whiny, and Mum knew that she'd better entertain the kids before they got really fed up. "OK then, let's play I Spy for a while. You start, Megan," she said cheerfully. Megan looked at David with a cheeky glint in her eyes and said, "I spy with my little eye something beginning with F." I noticed I missed a word out somewhere up there. I think it was, "Dad, are we nearly there yet?" So if you were following closely, you probably spotted that. Sorry. OK, so enjoy that. Not as easy as it looks, but give it a really good try and do your best. That's all we can ask of you. And I look forward to seeing your play script soon. They won't all be the same, and that's absolutely fine.